In 2014, a 92-year-old man named Ronald Reed passed away in Brattleboro, Vermont. To his neighbors, he was just a quiet guy who pumped gas at a local service station. But when his will was read, the town gasped. He had amassed an $8 million fortune. He built that wealth on a baseline of extreme frugality. He drove a second-hand Toyota and used safety pins to hold his worn-out coat together. Ronald never won the lottery, and he didn't possess insider knowledge from a chaotic Wall Street floor. He was a gas station attendant who built a fortune that rivaled many CEOs. Instead, he utilized a hidden strategy of wealth creation, one that modern hustle culture actively ignores because it is, by design, incredibly slow. Extraordinary financial freedom grows from a profound discipline of boring consistency. Ronald is part of a verifiable pattern. In 1935, a secretary named Grace Groner bought 3 shares of Abbott Labs, a company that had been around for nearly 50 years. She never sold. Through decades of growth, those original shares became a $7 million estate. Ann Scheiber followed a similar path. She was an auditor, retiring in 1944 with only $5,000. She spent the next half-century waiting, turning that modest nest egg into $22 million. These 3 investors began their journey during the most difficult financial conditions of the 20th century. Their earliest portfolios had to survive the mass poverty and breadlines of the Great Depression. They held their positions through a dozen severe market crashes, the tensions of the Cold War, and the existential threat of a Second World War. The terrifying headlines of the day didn't shake them. These millionaires reached these heights by remaining professionally inactive during decades of global panic. When financial systems crack, the common reaction is to panic. We see crowds rushing to sell and salvage whatever cash they can. But Ronald, Grace, and Ann simply did nothing. This chart shows the market's heartbeat, jagged fluctuations. Overlaid is a steady line of buying. This dollar-cost averaging means buying on schedule, regardless of price. Zooming out 50 years, early volatility flattens. Dividends and stock splits roll over, exponentially multiplying the original shares. This mathematical snowball requires no active trading. They treated the stock market like a time capsule, rather than a casino where you have to constantly play a hand. Wealth grows through a high tolerance for boredom and the ability to ignore decades of noise. If the path to millions is this simple, why isn't everyone wealthy? Human beings are hardwired to take immediate, defensive action when we sense a threat. Doing nothing when we see bad news feels evolutionarily unnatural. The real superpower of these millionaires was emotional detachment. They became ghosts to the news cycles of their respective eras. Today, you can replace willpower with automation. You can set up systems that buy assets quietly in the background, a heavy flywheel turning smoothly without human emotion to interrupt the rhythm. This strategy works best when you select companies built for endurance. Grace Groner chose Abbott Labs because it had already survived for 50 years before she bought it. This is the Lindy Effect, the idea that the longer a business has already survived, the more likely it is to survive another 40 years. Leaving a financial legacy doesn't require a fortune today. It requires the discipline to start with what you have and the patience to let it sit. What is one company you'd trust to still be around 40 years from now? Tell me in the comments.